Dorothy was 73 years old and had a front porch that was too small for the amount of living that happened on it. It was a modest porch on a quiet street in a small English town, 2 wooden chairs, a potted lavender that she watered every morning before the kettle boiled, and a view of a road that most people walked along without really seeing. There was nothing remarkable about it from the outside, and yet, there were 2 chairs on that porch. The one on the left was hers. The one on the right had been George's, her husband of 39 years, who had left on a Tuesday morning in February as quietly as he had lived everything, without warning, without drama, leaving behind a space that she couldn't look at without feeling the particular weight of an absence that had no bottom. For a while, she thought about moving the chair inside. She had actually lifted it once, carried it as far as the front door before stopping. She stood there for a moment, holding it, and understood that removing it wouldn't remove what it meant. It would only make the space where it had been feel worse. She brought it back. Not out of sentimentality, exactly. Dorothy was a practical woman, not given to keeping things simply for the sake of keeping them. But there was something about that empty chair she couldn't explain, a kind of presence that remained in it, as though the chair still had a purpose she hadn't fully understood yet. So it stayed. And without any plan, without any intention, that was how everything began. The first person to sit in it was Martin. Martin was 44 years old, lived 3 doors down, and carried the kind of tiredness that has nothing to do with sleep. He had been made redundant 6 weeks earlier. He hadn't told his wife. Every morning he left the house at the usual time, drove to the car park by the canal, sat there for hours, and came home at the usual time. He ate dinner.
He said the right things. He went to bed.
One afternoon, he walked past Dorothy's porch on his way back from nowhere in particular. She was sitting in her chair with a cup of tea, watching the street with the unhurried attention of someone who had nowhere more important to be. She didn't say anything. She looked at him, and then at the empty chair beside her. Martin stopped. He wasn't sure why. Perhaps because no one had looked at him that way in weeks. Not with pity, not with expectation, just with space. He opened the gate, which was already ajar, and sat down. They didn't speak for a long time. Eventually, Dorothy stood up, went inside, and came back with a second cup of tea. She set it beside him without asking if he wanted it. It was strong, slightly bitter, the way George had always taken it. Martin wrapped both hands around the cup, as though the warmth of it was the first solid thing he'd felt all day. He drank it. They sat in silence. When Martin left, nearly an hour later, she hadn't asked what was wrong.
She hadn't offered advice. She hadn't said it would be all right. She had simply stayed. And Martin discovered, walking home that afternoon, that staying had been exactly what he needed. After Martin came Sophie. Sophie was 26 and had moved back into her parents' house at the end of the street after a relationship ended in the slow, exhausting way that some relationships end. Not dramatically, but in gradual diminishments, small disappearances, until one day you notice that a version of yourself has quietly gone missing. She passed the porch on a Saturday afternoon and saw the chair. Dorothy was there. The chair was empty. Sophie came through the gate without quite deciding to. She sat. She looked at the street for a while as Dorothy knitted beside her. The sound of the needles was steady and rhythmic, almost like breathing. There was a calm in it that didn't ask Sophie to feel calm, and perhaps because of that, something in her gradually stopped bracing. "Aren't you going to ask what's wrong?" Sophie said after a while. "No," said Dorothy without looking up from her knitting. Sophie was quiet. "Why not?" "Because if you want to tell me, you will. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. Either way is all right." Sophie stayed for another hour. She didn't say anything that day, but she came back the following week and the week after, And it was on the third visit that the words finally found their way out. Slowly, in pieces, the way true things tend to emerge when they finally find a place that feels safe enough to exist in.
Dorothy listened to all of it, without interrupting, without offering solutions, without making the face of someone suffering alongside in a way that makes the speaker feel they should stop talking to spare the listener. She simply listened. When Sophie finished, Dorothy said only, "You've been carrying that alone for a long time." It wasn't a question. It wasn't advice. It was a recognition. And sometimes that is exactly what we need most, for someone to see the weight before suggesting how to carry it differently. Over time, the chair on the right was occupied by different people. The teenage boy from the corner house who sat there after school and stayed until dinner time without anyone asking why he preferred this porch to his own. Dorothy never pressed him. She left a glass of water beside him and went on with whatever she was doing. One afternoon, he brought something to show her, a sketch he'd made of the street, with 2 chairs visible on a porch in the middle distance. The woman from number 11 came too. She had lost her husband the same year as Dorothy, and found in that chair a place where widowhood didn't require explanation, because the person beside her already knew that particular geography. They talked sometimes about practical things, recipes, utility bills, aching knees. Other times they said nothing at all, and understood each other anyway. There was also a young man who had moved to the street recently, still finding his footing, working night shifts and sleeping during the day, and carrying the quiet disorientation of someone who hadn't yet figured out where he belonged. One afternoon, he paused at the open gate, uncertain, and Dorothy simply gestured to the chair. He sat down like someone asking permission from the world. Dorothy never announced that her porch was a place of welcome. She never put up a sign, never formally invited anyone, never told people they could come. She simply left the gate ajar, left the chair available, stayed present with her tea and her lavender and her silence that didn't press, the kind of silence that rests rather than demands. And people came, the way things come when they find where they belong. Gradually, the street began to change in ways nobody quite noticed at first. Not dramatically. There was no meeting, no announcement, no declaration. But people started greeting each other a little more. Martin, who had walked with his eyes down for months, began stopping to help the woman from number 11 with her shopping. Sophie started smiling at the boy from the corner house when she passed him on the pavement. The young man who had known no one started fixing small things around the street when he had time. It was as though the chair had been teaching a quiet language, the language of leaving space, of not demanding, of not requiring explanations before offering presence. And perhaps that was why Dorothy's porch always seemed larger than it actually was, because some small places become immense when people are allowed to be in them without having to be less than they are. On an afternoon in November, Martin came back. He had found a new job. He had told his wife not only about the redundancy, but about everything he had carried in silence during those months. It had been a hard conversation, and a necessary one. He had cried, she had cried, and then they had sat at the kitchen table for a long time and tried to relearn how to tell each other the truth. He sat in the chair on the right, as he had the first time. "I came to say thank you," he said. Dorothy looked at him. "I didn't do anything." "You did," said Martin. "You stayed, and that day, that was everything." Dorothy was quiet for a moment. She looked at the chair where he was sitting. She thought about George, about how he too had been like that, present without needing words, steady without needing to perform strength, loving in the quietest and most real way. Perhaps the chair had never really been empty. Perhaps it had only been waiting for the right people to come along and continue what it had always done.
offer a place where someone could sit and feel that they were not completely alone in the world. Dorothy stayed on the porch longer than usual. The street had grown quiet. A few windows still had lights on. Somewhere nearby, someone was cooking, garlic and rosemary drifting on the evening air. The lavender moved softly in the breeze, and the chair on the right sat as it always did, holding all the stories that had passed through it. Dorothy rested her hand on the arm of it. "Did you see, George?" she said quietly. She didn't need an answer, because some answers arrive without sound. They arrive as peace, as a quiet certainty, as the feeling that love, when it is real, finds new ways to keep being of use in the world. And for the first time in a long while, Dorothy did not look at the chair as a place of loss. She looked at it as a place of continuation. Dorothy is still on the porch. Every morning, before the kettle, she waters the lavender, straightens both chairs, leaves the gate ajar. She doesn't know who might come today. Perhaps no one. Perhaps someone she's never met. Perhaps someone she's known for years who is carrying something new. It doesn't matter. The chair will be there, available, unhurried, without conditions. Because some people understand without anyone having to teach them that the most powerful thing you can offer is not a solution. It is simply presence, space, the permission for someone to arrive exactly as they are and rest for a moment before continuing. Dorothy is one of those people, and the street knows it, even if it has never found the words. Because every street needs a porch like this, a place where no one has to pretend to be fine, a place where tiredness is allowed to sit down without apology, a place where life, exhausted from being hurried, finds an empty chair and discovers that kindness still exists in the world. This space is building a family of people who choose to feel, to grow, and to flourish together. If you'd like to be part of it, stay with us.